Hey, everybody. Welcome in to the Raheel Show podcast. I got the powerful Jay Arnold, former Texas A&M football player, current badass. I think we just met on Twitter, man. I don't even know how we came across each other.
Well, I think it was at a Roughnecks game, right, with Thomas Campbell.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I forgot that was you.
Yeah.
I forgot that was you, man. That's crazy. Now that you remind me, yes, that's where it was. He was making your ass run around.
Dude.
Thomas Campbell's awesome, man. He's a photographer here in the local Houston area. And now, okay, I thought we just came across each other on Twitter, man. That's nuts. Now this conversation is going to be 100 times better because, yeah, we did meet at the Roughnecks. You were shadowing him, just
Pretty
trying to,
much, yeah.
just trying to get some experience, just trying to get around the game, right?
Pretty much, yeah. They had me running memory cards for all the different photographers working down there. So I like to think that I was getting my cardio in and watching football at the same time.
Yeah.
It was a nice combination.
not much watching when you're running around because those memory cards fill up pretty fast, man.
No, but at the same time, I got hit by the ball a couple of times when I was just like running, not paying attention. So you got to get kind of a side eye on it, you know?
Man, so by the way, the next episode of this podcast, I'm going to have Brian Michael Cooper, who was the president of the Roughnecks. So I'm going to have a chat with him about everything, what happened, anything he's hearing. But man, yeah, it was that was a fun atmosphere. It was cool. You were there for the closed practices with us, right?
No, so I was only there for a couple of the home games.
Okay. You didn't get a chance to get to the closed practice. Those were nuts.
I did not.
Okay.
I can imagine that was pretty fun environment.
What did you think about the environment at the games?
Dude, people were just, first of all, I mean, there's a lot of people just hammered in the stands.
Yeah.
Which I enjoyed. Everybody's yelling at me, trying to get me to go grab a ball for them. Like in hindsight, maybe I should have, but no, it was a lot of fun. I mean, everybody seemed to just cut loose. Like it felt, NFL games feel so formal to me, and I just felt like the XFL was just everybody having a good time.
How did it compare to SEC games? Because you were there for 1 year of the SEC.
So two. I was there
okay.
13 and 14. Yeah. I mean, the way I explain SEC games to everybody is, it's a similar deal where the NFL is so formal that, I feel like the atmosphere isn't quite the same. You go to a SEC football game, everybody's super passionate. I mean, places like LSU, Arkansas, even when they were down, I mean, you still have fans just cussing you out behind. Just, hey, why aren't you out on the field?
Man. Did they have alcohol in the stands during your years?
I mean, legally, no.
No. Yeah, legally. Because that shifted around 15 or 16 for UT at least. I'm a UT grad, so I remember it was it was about 3 or 4 years ago that it shifted.
Right, and I mean, I thought that was a great idea, but people were just sneaking it in anyway, so it didn't really matter.
I know. It's like gambling. It's like marijuana sales here. People are doing it. Just tax it. Go ahead and make money off of it, government. It's
exactly
right. Like, just do it. Okay, so we start every interview with the same 5 questions. So I'm going to get this going. The same 5 questions. Number 1, what is one song you wish everybody would listen to at least once in their life?
International Players Anthem. Boom. UGK and Outkast. Easy one.
Gosh, that one, I love that tweet that, when the national anthem protest stuff was happening in 16, 17, there's debates about like, oh man, what does the song actually stand for? And whatever, like that's a totally different debate. But the tweet that would always hit was, why don't we just replace it with the International Players Anthem?
Dude, one of my favorite songs of all time.
Nice. I like that. Okay, number 2, what is one thing you always have to have in your fridge?
This is gonna sound weird, but a gallon of milk. I am a huge milk drinker. I got to be honest. Like most people look at me weird when I just pour a glass of milk for dinner, but I am a huge milk drinker.
Now, which one are you drinking? Are you going just old school 2%?
I usually go 2%. I used to be a whole milk guy. I cut back on that a little bit. Slow down. I went to 2%, so I'm not, completely all in now, but. Still got a half a gallon in there.
Have you messed with the Mootopia from HEB?
I have not. I'm gonna have to try that out.
You might have to try it because it's lactose free. It's less calories, less fat, more protein, and it's just a better tasting milk.
Plus, anything from HEB, I mean,
Yeah.
you already know it's a good product.
If you don't rep HEB, then just go ahead and turn this podcast off. I don't want you listening to it. Like,
I mean,
it's cool.
I was a Dallas guy, and I still love HEB.
What you guys have? What, Tom Thumb up there or
I
Randall's?
think it was Tom Thumb, yeah.
I remember seeing.
And
Tom
we
Thumb.
have the Central Market, but that's not the same.
Yeah, Central Market's HEB's rich cousin.
Right.
Okay.
It's the Highland Park.
Yeah, it's perfect for you guys up there. Okay, number 3. What is one place you want to visit that you haven't yet?
Iceland, probably, if I had to go off the top of my head.
Why?
It's like it feels like such a natural place. Like I'm big into natural beauty. Like Banff National Park up in Canada is another place that I've always wanted to go. But I just feel like Iceland and all the like the hot springs and stuff. Like it seems like a place that would be almost uninhabitable.
Yeah.
And then you go there and people seem to just have a fun time. Plus, like it seems like everybody from that country is either a strongman or in an indie folk band.
Yeah.
And there's no in between.
Banff, just out of like 4 years ago, everyone started going there, and now the secret is out because we
Right.
tried booking a trip there, and it's impossible. One, there's not many places to stay there, right? Because you're entering just natural beauty, and now everyone is heading up there.
It's like where would the closest place in Canada even be? Like Calgary or
I forgot where. I think it's Vancouver.
Vancouver?
Where did I fly? Where were we gonna fly in? I don't know. I don't remember now. But we looked it up and we're like, oof, nope. I don't think we're gonna be able to do like 20 people staying there. That's gonna be pretty hard.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it looks wild, but
Yeah, it looks incredible. I have a few friends who have been there, and I was supposed to go with them, but when you have a kid, it's hard, man. It's hard to escape because your wife is gonna. My wife is like, hey, I kind of want to go too, and I'm like, well, you have you have the kid, and she's like, well, that's your kid too. So I mean, it's hard to escape with the boys now. Okay, number 4. Who is one person alive that you want to have coffee with?
sheesh, that's a tough one. I think if I had to go right now, we were talking about jiu-jitsu beforehand. I know I'm a big MMA fan. I think I want to talk to Francis Ngannou.
Mm.
Like his story when he's coming out, as a refugee escaping to Europe, and then now 7 years later, time flies. He's one of the most high-profile guys, top mixed martial arts organization in the world. Like what a quick journey that was,
Man, one of the scariest dudes in MMA.
dude. That uppercut he hit Overeem with.
Mm. That man, ooh, that's terrifying. Look, any professional fighter is terrifying in my opinion, but when you get to the 1%, when you get to the upper tier of guys, it's unlike anything you've ever seen.
Well, and like the dude he fought last, Jairzinho Rosenstruik, is a monster too, and he just basically bum rushed him and put him out. I mean, he has power like nobody I've ever seen in the game. It's just wild.
I can't wait to talk to you. Got one more question because I mean, look, you played at the highest level in college football, and you've come across some freak athletes. You've had some freak athletes on your team, so I can't wait to talk about that in a second. And MMA fighters. Last one. What is one app that you want to delete from your phone, but you just can't?
Twitter.
Man, everybody.
It'd be great. It'd be great to just get rid of it. But I mean, like, to be honest, it's just like I gave up Twitter for Lent this year, and I didn't realize how much I was missing by not being on there. And I come back and there's the whole pandemic is going on. Like, I didn't realize how much I kind of relied on Twitter to just know what current events are happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like I see something on Twitter, then I Google it to kind of like figure out what's going on.
I found this new app, and I was like you, like where I use Twitter for my news. I use Twitter to see what's happening in your latest, right? So there's this new app called Winnow, WINNO. And what it is, it's an unbiased news app. And they write their own headlines, and they'll link back to credible sources, right? But they'll send you notifications. If you want to sign up for the COVID-19 tab, then cool, they'll send you notifications. You want to sign up for Black Lives Matter, they'll send you notifications on the newest stuff. But then what happens, like what I've noticed not using Twitter for that, is you miss the funny stuff. Like you can't like Twitter, I think it's a lot of what energy you put out, and I put out good energy. And if there's negative stuff, I block it or ignore it. That's it.
Right.
And I use it to interact with fun people like you and I mean countless others. Because the humor side of the news you can't capture on these apps.
Well, and that's why I love the mute button
Yeah.
because I still want people to follow me, but sometimes I don't really want to hear what they're saying, so I just go ahead and click that. If they get the negative energy coming in, because I'm like you, dude. I'm all about the power of positivity.
Yeah, I'm like you. I mute people because I don't want to lose followers. I'm shallow, man.
It's so bad to say,
Yeah,
but like it's the truth.
it's about the brand. We're trying to brand here, man.
Exactly.
So let's jump into this, man. I mean, this is a good jump off point for you regarding Twitter. You wrote a really good piece on Good Bull Hunting, and you're a writer for them. You've done a lot of work for them, man. I was going back reading your old archives. They took a liking to you when you were a player, and you've done a ton of stuff for them.
Yeah, I mean, you talking about building a brand. Like when I was an athlete, like I was kind of trying to already get that process started. And I mean, writing something that I've always kind of enjoyed, just kind of being able to analyze stuff, pick it apart, kind of give my opinions on matters. And then, I was lucky enough that the guys from Good Bull Hunting kind of let me chip in there. And I've been kind of sporadic with it. I need to get more consistent, but it's been a lot of fun.
Was Summy okay with that when you were doing stuff with them?
So I mean, my first article that I wrote was after I had stopped playing with Good Bull Hunting. I mean, I was still on scholarship. I retired due to medical.
Mm-hmm.
A few shoulder surgeries. I decided it probably wasn't going to work out. And then, of course, now I'm doing jiu-jitsu. But yeah, I mean, they were cool with it. I mean, even still being on scholarship, I tried to just kind of be a little reasonable with what I was putting out there.
Man, Summy's such a cool dude. Because we dealt with him working in Houston radio for 10 years. You get to know him, and I'm blanking on their media rep's name. Alan Freeze,
AC, Alan Cannon,
Alan Cannon. There you go,
yeah.
Alan Cannon. Good dudes, man. Awesome people there. So this past week, look, there was a lot going on. There's a lot going on my campus at Texas, and I've talked about it on this show, and we'll jump into it with you as well. And then Kellen Mond has been leading the charge about talking about issues that are happening and students are going through on the campus of Texas A&M. And you wrote something so simple in terms of the message, but so powerful because it's the same thing that happened in 16 and 17 with Colin Kaepernick. It's let's not get lost in how they're doing this. Let's listen to what they're actually saying. And let's not do this whole thing over again in terms of, hey, be an athlete and just shut up and dribble, as LeBron famously caught it. It's like, let's focus on the message. There's something happening here. Let's focus. Talk a little bit more about what happened and the story.
Yeah, I mean, so Kellen Mond came out talking about a statue that we have on campus, Lawrence Sullivan Ross, who was a former Confederate officer. And obviously, the reason his statue is on campus isn't because of that. It's because of the contributions that he had to A&M later in his life. But that doesn't erase the fact that it's a statue of a guy who served for a country. One of their founding purposes was to uphold slavery. And my whole take on the matter is, even if you think that the good that he did for the A&M system should outweigh the fact that he fought on the side of slavery, think about how that makes other people feel, right? I tried to touch on this in the story that I wrote for Good Bull Hunting. I'm a white guy, came from a pretty nice area, Rockwall, about 30 minutes east of Dallas, nice suburb. I wasn't really exposed to racial injustice until I got to A&M. And it's kind of a shock for somebody who doesn't really, who's been kind of taught that America's great. There's nothing wrong with the country. We don't have problems. Racism's a thing of the past. It's a bit of a shock. I get it. People don't want to admit that there's problems. Nobody wants to admit that they're wrong. But if you take a step back and kind of realize where people are coming from, it's easy to see, at least to me, it's easy to see why that would be offensive or why that would create an atmosphere that doesn't feel welcoming. And that's all I want to do is I love A&M. I want it to be the most welcoming campus possible.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's all that Kellen's saying is having that statue up there, a guy that fought on the side of slavery. It's not a welcoming factor.
No, it's also, it's the same thing that, like I'm with you. Like my experience in life has been pretty damn good. Okay. And I've been afforded a lot of opportunities, how I grew up, and it's great. And the thing is, like, I want that same experience for everybody, whether it be on campus. When I was on campus, I loved it. I had a couple of issues on campus. In a post 9/11 world, there's gonna be some bad apples in terms of what they're gonna say and some hate speech and all that. And that's, you know what? Okay, they did it, but it's not gonna define the whole campus. Now, when you do walk like at UT, you walk around and you see some of the statues, you go, it's not right. It's not right. Why is it up? And even hell, when I was there, and I was in school a long time ago, I mean, there were student union groups trying to get get those statues off as well, but it never went through until recently. And I'm with you. Like, if everyone's not having the same experience and they're not feeling welcomed in this campus, in this family that we have, and it doesn't matter. Okay, look, we don't look the same. I get it, but it's still a family, right? Then let's try to be better. Let's try to fix it so they have that same experience. It's not going to change Jay's experience. It's not going to change Raheel's experience, but it's going to help somebody else's.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I was trying to get at is if you just kind of take a step back and listen and kind of try to understand why they feel uncomfortable, maybe like I just don't think that the history of it should outweigh the fact that it's wrong. It's, I don't know. It's tough to really talk about it without just calling the other side stupid at some point. Because I mean, it's a statue, dude. Like,
yeah,
it's
a loser statue, by the way.
Yeah, I love saying that too.
Yeah, they are. Look, the Confederacy lost. Okay,
they lost.
They're the Buffalo Bills. They lost it. The 4 years that they had, they lost. Just like the Bills in the Super Bowl runs, they lost. They're losers. I mean, it's okay. I mean, it's hard. Again, for me, it's not heritage. It's not my heritage, right? Like I get all that, and it's heritage, not hate, and all that dumb stuff that people say. But
and like I love the stuff going around on Twitter right now. Like Gossip Girl lasted longer than the Confederacy. Like Gossip Girl's the bigger part of the culture.
It's incredible, like that. People, and it's like, okay, it was a 4-year run. They lost, by the way. And then the one that started all is like, hey, Kyle, it's not your heritage, okay? Your great grandfather. Like, just relax on this. Just say you have some hate in your heart, or you got some racism, or whatever it is. But and the other thing I noticed in the comments, because I follow a lot of Texas A&M people. I mean, contrary to popular belief, I don't hate everyone at A&M. I have some of my good friends are from A&M, and I actually enjoy. Like, we would go up there all the time for broadcasts. I like small town, so it's cool. Yeah. But
I mean, I love Austin, dude. Like Kirby Lane, that's my joint right there. Dude, Austin barbecue, good.
Didn't Kirby Lane close? Was it Kirby Lane that I think they ended up closing here because of COVID?
Oh,
Rest in peace. I'm pretty sure they did. I'll look it up here in a second.
Oh, dude, that's going to be heartbreaking.
I know. Kirby Lane's the joint, dude. But I was saying, following so many people on Twitter, the one thing that I noticed, a lot of people took screenshots of people's comments underneath Kellen Mond. You talked about it. And this goes back to, like, guys, your experience at Texas A&M was great. All right. Obviously, you love it. You had an awesome time there. You were part of the male cheerleaders. I just want to take that one dig.
I had
to. You guys were part of the male cheerleaders, and it was awesome. It was great. But now that Kellen is speaking up, I hate the game that some people play is like, shut up. Okay. You're an athlete. Be thankful. If you didn't want to be here, you didn't have to be here. It's like, do we want to teach the youth? Do we want to teach these guys that they can't change the world? Yes or no? Because that's what they're trying to do.
Right. And another thing is, like, they're saying, shut up, you're an athlete. You're not listening to the average guy.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason they're speaking up is because they have that platform to actually be able to do so. Like an average guy walking down the street is not going to have the same voice.
But the funny thing is, the average guy on the street, just like those guys in the comments and those Facebook groups, they get a chance to express their opinion. But
Yeah.
when Kellen Mond does it, it's not allowed. Like, dude, that you can't have it both ways. You can't express your opinion to your platform, which is a Facebook group or a private group or next door or whatever. That's your like. Look, that's you want to go and speak on the level of Kellen Mond. Man, go ahead and hit the gym, start working your ass off, become famous, and you'll have a huge platform to spread whatever crap you want to spread, right?
Right.
It's like, but you get a chance to do it, but Kellen can't because Kellen's more famous than you. Like, shut up. That makes no sense to me.
Well, and it irks me because it's just I don't understand why you shouldn't be able to speak up about issues that are personal to you. And people always want to say get politics out of sports. I touched on this in the article. Politics have always been a part of sports,
Yep.
whether you want it to be or not. I mean, the example that I always bring up is the 1980 Olympics, the hockey game, USA versus Russia. You can't tell me that's not a political event.
It was the reason it was such a big deal was because of undertones. And I get it, they're amateur athletes taking on professionals and all that. But there was a reason why it is such an important game is because of the Cold War. If they had beaten Norway, come on. Like it's
Well, and
not
like
that
the doping scandals of East Germany, like there's so many different things that you could go through that there's probably some politics, the Russian judge. There's so much like it's I mean, and I get that it's different when it's it's a national team as opposed to a professional team.
Yeah.
But it's still like sports and politics have been intertwined for forever. Think about, I mean, they saw the Daytona 500 this year. Trump's landing his plane on the backstretch. I think Reagan did it back in the day.
Yeah.
And politics have always been a part of sports, and that's never going to change.
Never. And it's okay. Like, and guess what? Sports are going to be a part of politics. We're allowed to blend stuff. We're allowed to merge our interests. It's okay. Music is a part of sports. Music is a part of politics. Politics is part of music. Like it's all one thing. Movies, so on and so on. And we get so upset. And I think one of the big things, and look, it comes from both sides. This isn't me being a lefty or a righty and all that stuff. It comes from both sides. When somebody doesn't agree with your side, it ends up being, hey, keep sports out of politics and keep politics out of sports or vice, whatever, right?
Right.
It's guys, everyone just needs to take a deep breath and look at what's actually happening. And then you go, okay, all right, okay, this makes sense. This has nothing to do with keeping one thing out of the other because I don't like it.
Yeah. And well, like another thing that goes along with the shut up and dribble is people always talking about facts don't care about your feelings. The world doesn't care about your feelings. All right, but imagine if people actually did care about feelings.
Yep.
I mean, just take a step back and like just consider it. I mean, hey, maybe I shouldn't do this. This makes somebody else feel uncomfortable.
By the way, it was Magnolia Cafe in Austin that shut down forever, not Kirby Lane.
Man.
So we're good.
I
Kirby
mean,
Lane
it's
still has
still-
multiple. Yeah,
Magnolia Cafe is still great, but
rest in peace to the homies.
yeah.
And here's the other thing: if sports figures didn't talk about political issues, there's going to be a majority of people that miss out on a lot of things. And look, I consider myself somebody that is well read, and I try to follow the news, and I try learning about it as much as I can. Dude, the whole Hong Kong thing that happened with Daryl Morey, I didn't dig into it until Daryl tweeted that, and it became a huge thing. So how many people now, like this time around, are finally going, oh, okay. Oh, okay. That's why Drew Brees apologized. Oh, and that's why okay. That's what Colin Kaepernick. Okay, like 4 years later, how many people did that?
Yeah, it's just people need to take a step back and not react defensively off the rip. Like, I get it. You don't want to be perceived as being wrong. So your first instinct is always going to be to say, oh, well, that's not how this is. Like I've been like this my whole life. And it's just like kind of take a step back. It's okay to just kind of try to analyze it. And you may not change your opinion.
Yep.
That's okay too. Like sometimes,
At
you
least
think
you
you're so
learned about it
right,
though.
but at
Yeah.
least you kind of took a second to look at things and see if maybe there's a point the other side has.
That's a good point, man. How was your time at Texas A&M? You being around the football program, it's a majority of black athletes, and Kevin Sumlin being a black head coach. There were some good years there, and then towards the end there were some bad years, and there's a lot of drama that came with the end as well. But for you, being in that locker room, being around that program, what was it like?
Man, I just think being in that locker room, it's an experience that I wish everyone got to have. You come to this school and there's people from so many different backgrounds that you get a chance to interact with. And, outside the main campus, a lot of people may stick to certain groups or cliques. In the locker room, you're with people that you may normally not hang out with outside of football. And you spend so much time together. There's just a brotherhood there. And at the same time, I was talking about it opened my eyes to a lot of things that I had never really experienced growing up in Rockwall. One story that I was thinking of the other day, after the bowl game against Duke, we went home for a little bit, had to drive back in. I was getting an MRI on my shoulder. I picked up a teammate who was also getting an MRI. And, we're heading down the highway. I'm speeding because I like to get everywhere fast, NASCAR fan, But we get pulled over and the cop comes up. All I'm thinking about is getting the ticket. My buddy in the passenger seat is a black guy. So I'm just worried about the speeding ticket. And I could see him kind of tense up. And the officer walks up, I thought he was being typical asshole cop. Just give me a ticket. I'm going 5 miles per hour over. It's not a big deal. And he walks away from the car, and my buddy turns to me and he goes, "You see that? He had his hand on his gun the whole time." And I'm thinking about it like, I just got a ticket. I'm pissed off. It never crossed my mind. And I think that was the first time that my eyes really opened. And that's kind of why I felt compelled to speak on it. Most white guys aren't going to have that experience.
No, you're right. I saw, somebody had a really good tweet the other day about it's hard to relate to it if you come from a background where your only interactions with a cop might be the 2 times that you use them in your life. Right. And then you have some community events that you might see them at. So it's always a friendly interaction. Not everybody has that interaction. Like, for example, exactly what you said. You're just like, damn it, I got my ticket. Okay, here we go. For the passenger, for your friend, there must have been way many, and this was before. This wasn't even as public, right?
Right.
For him, it was, there were life experiences that led up to that, why he was so tense.
And it's just, it's such an eye-opening thing to kind of see, because in that moment, I didn't think I was in danger at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think, I'm getting a ticket. This is going to suck. I'm going to have to do defensive driving, whatever. My buddy is terrified. And I didn't even think twice. Like, until he said something about it. And then it just kind of puts everything in perspective. And it's something that's really kind of stuck with me and just kind of shaped the way I've approached this whole situation. Mm-hmm. Because it's like I'm saying, man, like, unless you've been in that situation, you really don't know what's going through their heads. Like, unless you felt like your life was at stake, it's hard to put yourself in their shoes.
Exactly. And if they're saying something like, hey, we should listen. There's a reason they're saying this. You know what people with good lives don't say? Like, hey, man, my life is so good, everybody. Everyone come here. Look how good my life is. Like, hey, I need a better life. No one says that. There's a reason why Colin Kaepernick was trying to bring awareness to the police brutality issue. There was reasons why other athletes and why LeBron and all these guys are speaking up and talking about this and wearing the shirts, the I Can't Breathe shirts back with Eric Gardner. Like, there's reasons why, guys. And it doesn't hurt to listen. It doesn't hurt to listen because our life experiences are all different. And I mean, I can't even imagine what your friend like afterwards. For him, it might have just been like, oh, look, that was just another incident with the cop. Where now it's in his mind like, oh yeah, remember he had his hand on his gun for what, a speeding ticket,
Right.
like,
Well, and it made me think, like, what if I wasn't the one driving?
yeah,
Like, there's just it kind of opened my eyes quite a bit. But I mean, going back to like Kaepernick and everybody, part of the reason that I felt so compelled to write is that everybody completely ignored the purpose of his protest.
mm-hmm.
Everybody said he was attacking the flag, which
or the military and all, like, oh,
right. Well, and here's the thing, like, I love America. I think it's a great place to live. That doesn't mean that we don't have a long way to go to make it where everyone feels safe. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, you can admit something needs work. That's okay. You can admit that you aren't where you want to be. That should be perfectly encouraged. We should be working to help make this a more inclusive place for everyone. And it's just, you get to a point where you feel like people, instead of just saying, hey, that's something we can work on, they want to defend it. And it's
like we improve in everything else in our life. We watch sports where the whole purpose of sports is trying to become number one. You're improving on everything. But when you want to improve something as big as the country or the experience that everybody has, we get defensive about it. And like we put away that mentality of we got to be number one. We got to be number one. And like all these, I mean, boomers that would do this, and I hate using the term boomer, but there's the only way to describe this. They'll do the whole, oh man, it's, participation trophy era. Well, okay, guess what? You're settling for a participation trophy if you don't want to make this country better. So what is it going to be? What is it going to be, old guy?
do you want to be number one, or do you want to stay where we've been the same, like not improve? It's the old saying in football, in the weight room, we always talk about there's no maintaining. You're either getting stronger or you're getting weaker. There's no maintaining. That's it. Like, you either get better or you get worse, because other people are getting better the whole time. So if you try to stay the same, you're just going to get passed.
There's one life lesson you guys pick up from this podcast today. It's there's no, you're either getting better or you're getting worse. That's it. There's no maintaining. I love that. Yeah. I love that. Here's a good one. My boy Blue, your boy Blue, who's listening, he's on YouTube watching. He says 2 felony arrests in my life, 2 completed probation sentences. At the same time, I've known people who did less and got time, like years. And that, again, like the system doesn't help at all, Right. And there's a lot of things. Angel or Angel, he has a long message here, but this just sums up the media is complicit in this, and I agree. Look, man, I mean, you start watching CNN, you start getting your headlines from cable news. That is, their goal is to get people to watch and to draw up interest. They're going to be slanted both ways. CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, whatever you watch, their one goal is to get people to watch and make it as sexy as possible and to drive division, right? Because it's much easier to get everybody on one side to watch as opposed to everybody on both sides.
Right. And that's why I like to just kind of go over everything that I can see. And it's like you talk about being well read. I try to get as many sources as I can on any issue to try to educate myself. And if there's somebody that the issue is personal to them, I like to try to get their opinion. It's just trying to hear as much as you can and educate yourself on the whole process. And if you only buy into one network or one story, that's all you're going to get.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get the whole truth. It's going to be cherry picked. Like, that's just how it goes.
That's a good point.
You kind of have to see multiple sources to really get every bit of fact. And sometimes those places are going to be wrong. You just kind of have to monitor the situation. And as I said, just keep learning from it.
Now, when you were playing, did you guys? I mean, I know the answer is probably going to be yes here, but when you're on the sidelines, in an SEC road game, I mean, what kind of crap was being thrown at your bench? And
Ole Miss, dude.
with Kevin Sumlin as well, a black head coach.
Yeah. I mean, in the South, it's just, I hate to say it, it's part of it. Like, going in, there's going to be some racist fans at any place.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I don't want to say that everyone from Ole Miss is a bad person, because I mean, there's a lot of wonderful people that I've met from there, but they've had a problem at that school with it. A&M has had a problem with it too. I mean, it's not. I think the baseball player at Georgia that got kicked off the team because he said something about Justin Fields when Justin Fields was there. I mean, it's unfortunately a part of the culture. And I mean, we're working the best we can to change it. I think we as players have to present a unified front, combat that as quickly as we can.
Mm-hmm.
But it just, it sucks to hear that. Like, you're outside, you're playing a game that you love, and somebody wants to take it to that level. It's just kind of heartbreaking. Like, sports are supposed to be this fun environment. The worst part of it is your team may lose. It shouldn't be taken to that level where they want to attack somebody's race. Like, I'm all for a good chirp from the fans, but that is just, it's disgusting, And it's, we talk about it in the locker room after games. Like, can you believe that guy said that? I bet he wouldn't come down here though. And
Yeah.
It's always funny. Like, that's kind of the go-to reaction, because they wouldn't. But it's, people try to make it into a human situation to just deal with it, because it's tough. It weighs on you.
There's only so many times you can get upset about that, right? Like, as a player and somebody that constantly is getting that hurled at you. I mean, I don't want to get too deep inside your locker room and get stories from that, because I know that's protected ground, but
right,
it's got to be. I mean, there's only so many times you can get upset about it. Like, okay, we're going there, and people are gonna say some horrible things.
Yeah, and and they told us about it at certain places beforehand too, that are known for it. But it's, it shouldn't be part of the game, and that's really all there is to it on that.
Dude, with Summy, man, when he was at U of H, he had gotten there when I just got into Houston doing radio. And I mean, this is how far along we've come. I remember us like asking him, and we were an upstart radio station, 1560 The Game. And, we're boys with Summy. My old co-host, John Granado, was like really good friends with him. And even he was asking, like, what does it mean to be a black coach at U of H? I believe he was the first one. And to him, it was like, dude, I'm just a coach. I'm just a coach. But it was still a big deal in 2007, where it's like, hey, you're the first black coach here. What does that mean? And then at Texas A&M, going into the SEC, you've got Kevin Sumlin, and man, hell, if Johnny doesn't take off the way Johnny does, and Summy gets off to a bad start, it could have ended up horribly.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty bad there at the end anyway. But
yeah, remember the letter he caught at the end after the UCLA comeback win that UCLA had? There was reports that he got a letter that, they were calling him the N-word, and they were trying to trace it, like where did it come from? And that's the stuff that hit the public, by the way. Yeah. I can't even imagine privately what he went through.
Yeah. And it's already such a high pressure job too. I mean, I've thought about becoming a football coach, but being in the spotlight like that, dude, like that's good. Oh man, I can't imagine the pressure that's under. It was hard enough just getting out there on the field.
Yeah, man. What was that like when? Because you were there. Sorry, 14 and 15 again.
13 and 14.
13 and 14. So you were there for, the good years. You were there,
yeah,
Johnny, because Johnny was drafted 14, right?
Yeah. So Johnny's last year was my freshman year.
Okay. So the hype that came in after the Heisman, I can't even imagine, dude. What was that like?
That Alabama game early in the season was probably the loudest I've heard any venue ever. Whenever Mike Evans had that long touchdown pass, and we're yelling on the sideline, it's just tough to explain whenever a crowd of 100,000 people gets up like that. Like
And that was
there's
in
no,
your building too,
yeah,
because he beat Alabama on the road
in 2012,
in
and then we
2012.
lost.
Yeah,
I think Alabama was maybe 1 or 2, and we were, I think, a top 5 team as well at that point.
yeah.
It was just the environment was crazy. Uh, it's just obviously Johnny had so much hype behind him, and it's early in the season. 2 top ranked teams. Alabama's coming for revenge. A&M's looking to prove that we belonged at the top of the top. So it's an environment it's so electric. Like until you've been out there, it's tough to really explain it, but it's so energizing. You just feel, I mean, you can basically feel it, and it's almost tangible how electric that environment was.
Man, what kind of dump do you have afterwards? The adrenaline dump afterwards, because as you mentioned, I can't even imagine getting tired in that scenario.
It's crazy. I mean, so the biggest adrenaline dump I probably ever experienced was that Chick-fil-A Bowl against Duke. It was my first start, and I didn't know I was going to start going into that game, but the defensive end ahead of me on the depth chart had a foot injury he was dealing with. He was going to try to go, and then he wasn't able to. So Coach Price, who was the defensive line coach at the time, he's actually still at A&M, comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, you're going." And at that point I was like, well, here we go. And I was on the field for most of the defensive snaps that game, and after that game your body just goes and you just feel all the wind leave your sails. Like you're all of a sudden, every nick, every injury is just like, you feel every little bit of pain that adrenaline was covering up. And it's a terrible feeling, but at the same time, like if you're walking away with a dub, it's worth it.
It's all worth it. How long does it take to recover from that?
Dude, it's probably about 3 good ice baths over a couple days.
Oh man. Do they have that? Do they have the pool in there yet? The ice bath pool for you guys, or were you guys still doing manual ones?
We were still doing manual ones my freshman year. They got it in 2014, and that made it a lot better.
Yeah,
the manual ones where you got to get in like the like plastic looking tub.
Yeah, those nasty ones.
Oh, dude, especially like during 2-a-days when everybody was just. Yeah, that College Station humidity.
Yeah,
like, it's not as bad as Houston, but it's almost worse because it gets a little bit hotter up there.
Mm-hmm.
And like, have you ever seen the movie Holes?
Yeah.
You know how they're like all watching the clouds and they're hoping to get a little bit of rain. So we'd always watch the storms roll in from the coast, and they'd always break up right before they got to College Station.
Man, that's nuts, dude. I saw, gosh, it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And, UT releases their behind the scenes footage, and it was during their 2-a-days as well. And you see all the guys going upstairs to get in these manual baths. And I'm like, what? Why do you guys not have this built out yet? Please, this is so embarrassing. Yeah. You shouldn't be taking, if you're UT, you should not be taking ice baths like a CrossFit box. Okay. Like you need to have that nice pool. And I've seen the facilities at A&M, the house that Summy built or Johnny built, depending on who you want to say.
Right.
And, Alan takes us behind, and it's like incredible. I told him, I go, man, I would love to just live here for a week because it would be so much fun to have the best of everything available right there.
See, it's fun until you have to basically live up there for a few weeks during 2-a-days. Yeah. You get tired of it real quick.
Yeah, then it gets old for sure.
Yeah.
But how was that? What were 2-a-days like?
I mean, it's really not true 2-a-days anymore, except for 1 or 2 practices during the summer, just because of the restrictions the NCAA has on it now. But it's still like you're up there for film because you're really not having class during August unless you're taking like a special session. But you're up there for film, weights, and I mean, by the time that practice is done, sometimes it's hard to get home. You're so tired after it. Like you get out of the shower, I mean, drape a towel over your head and just go to sleep in the locker, and that's it.
Dude, how far did you live off campus, or were you in the dorm?
I wasn't too far. Actually, like I don't know if this is still the way it was, but my freshman year, we all lived off campus in an apartment complex just down the street that the football program had a contract with. And I think that they may have it with a different apartment complex now. And it wasn't too far from campus. I mean, it was like probably 2 miles or so.
Okay.
Like it's not like it was walking distance if you're not coming out of practice. Obviously, out of practice, like you don't want to walk that.
Hell no, you driving that or you riding the bike home. That's nuts.
Actually, one of the funniest stories from 2-a-days one time. Actually, I think it was summer workouts. It wasn't even 2-a-days yet. Is a couple of the freshmen football players, some of the guys that were in my class, took one of the medical golf carts and drove it down the road back to the apartment complex.
Damn,
I got in a lot of trouble for that, but it was.
I bet.
It was.
How much did they have to
hilarious.
run the next day?
Oh, dude, it was. I think they had to run stairs at Kyle Field.
Oh, oh no! Thank you, dude. I can't even.
They didn't.
Imagine.
They didn't take the golf cart again.
Gosh, yeah, absolutely not. I've walked through the tunnel, the players' tunnel, during the tour, like when we get the behind the scenes stuff, and just walking through that without any fans in there, you get chills, right? And again, I'm a Texas guy. It doesn't matter when you see that huge stadium around you. It's just
you can close your eyes and just kind of imagine it.
Yeah,
I mean, all the places that I walked into, just getting recruited, it's still like you walk into a place where thousands of people come in, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it's like some of that energy just left over. You can still just
feel
like,
it, right?
Feel
you feel the ghost. You feel like that energy still.
Yeah.
And what schools did you go for visits?
So I did a lot of unofficial visits. I didn't take any officials except for the A&M because I had committed spring of my junior year.
Okay.
And I mean, places like LSU. I always tell people this. I was really close to going to Northwestern. I really liked Pat Fitzgerald. Love that place up there. And I'm a Chicago sports fan, so it was a really cool visit for me.
Right there off the lake.
They have the private beach on Lake Michigan. They got some really nice facilities now too.
Yeah, the new weight room is right on the lake, right? Like
they got the lake view,
Man.
and Chicago style pizza. Just,
it's lasagna. It's not pizza.
I mean, as long as it's good, I don't care what you call it.
I'm like, go ahead and throw another pound of cheese on that. Let's do it.
But
so you went there?
Yeah, and I think one of the things that kind of helped question, because I was ready to commit on the spot, is my dad points at a fire hydrant, and there's a pole sticking up off the top of the fire hydrant. He goes, "Jay, you know what that's for?" I was like, "No, I've never seen that." That's how they find it whenever it snows. And as a Texas guy, I'm like, well, I might have to second guess that.
And they have the outdoor field, so you're going to be playing in some cold ass games. Although Chicago doesn't get that cold until like late December. Honestly, there's some cold days because I have family up there, and it's going to get cold, but it's not like 10 degrees or anything like that until late December until mid-February. Then it's bad. Then you don't want to be up there.
And then you still get some cold days during March stuff because whenever I was up there, I was on spring break. And they were talking about it was record highs. Everybody had taken off work, so we're driving down like the Lakefront Boulevard or whatever it was.
Lakeshore.
Yeah. And people are all just out on the shore, just like having a blast. Like it looked like everybody had taken off.
Man, we went in August, and Lake Michigan was an ice bath still. Like you get in, and you are just tightened up.
You need to get like a wetsuit just to get out in the water and swim.
Yeah, and I was like, man, this is the prettiest lake. It's incredible how clear it is. And then you start reading up, you're like, Lake Michigan's dirty. It's nasty.
Yeah, dude.
And I'm like, really? It's so awesome. This is it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's one of those where you go to the beach, but you never actually get in the water.
Oh man, if I see water, I'm getting in. I don't care.
I mean, you have to.
I need it. You got it.
When you got to go to the bathroom too.
Yeah, it's good for your soul.
What are you gonna do?
So LSU, Northwest, anywhere else?
Ole Miss was a fun one. Hugh Freeze was there. That was a fun time at Ole Miss. And in Ole Miss history, I had a lot of fun down there too. Actually,
yeah.
So Tom Allen was my area recruiter whenever I was getting recruited by Ole Miss, and he's the head coach of Indiana now, doing some pretty good things up there. Trying to think who else I was looking at. I mean, obviously OU. I never really got recruited by Texas, which was
That
kind of
was
disappointing.
that
It
was
was
Max final years, right?
Max final years, yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't much recruiting going on those years, Jay. Don't take it personally. I think everyone was just kind of coasting.
Yeah, it wasn't, and then
Yeah.
Baylor was another one I looked at. Just
So are
trying
you just getting letters all the time when you take us to that recruiting cycle and just
Yeah,
what it's like?
so they send in a lot of stuff goes to the school because they can't send you really anything personal to like your house until a certain period. And I think that's changed now too. It's been a while. I mean, I don't want to talk about it, but it's been like 80 years since I was just getting recruited. Uh, but they're sending stuff up to the school. So you go and check your little mailbox. You have like a little cubby up there and you're just pulling things out.
Damn.
They'll be asking you to like fill out questionnaires and stuff, asking you to come to camps, and it's all this information. It's almost an information overload. And then like sometimes you'll put out like a letter that's obviously written by somebody who has really nice handwriting. Probably not one of the coaches, and then you
No
see the
chance,
coach's
yeah.
signature at the bottom, and it's just like, Coach, I know you didn't write that. Like,
It's one of the angels
right?
that wrote that.
The recruiting staff, but it's just so much fun, but at the same time, you're making a decision that's going to impact the rest of your life. So you're got to enjoy it, but at the same time, it's so much pressure.
Yeah. Did you have any regrets now when you look back? I mean, you're only 25. There shouldn't be any regrets, but any in terms of your football career when you picked A&M?
I don't think I have any regrets. You can't help but wonder, like, what if?
Mhm.
Just like, I play out scenarios in my head all the time, and just like butterfly effect, like, well, if I did this one little thing different, like, I wonder what would have happened. But I definitely don't have any regrets about it. I mean, I loved my time at A&M.
Yeah.
It's a great place. I had a ton of fun there. Those 2 years that I was playing was great, and then afterwards, basically on scholarship. I probably should have studied a little bit harder, but I was having a lot of fun. But
I bet you were, man.
like I got the best of both worlds. Like I got to be just kind of like a normal student and then also an athlete for a little bit of it. So it was kind of cool to just kind of, after 2 years of hard work, go ahead and just enjoy it. Get the tailgate.
Yeah, and then I'm sure you got good seats anytime you wanted. You're still a scholarship athlete.
So with the medical deal, they still got us hooked up on seats. So it was four tickets for home games, 2 for away games.
Nice. Now, would you be allowed to go to practice and like still hang out around the football program, or were you not allowed to be there?
I probably could have. Part of it was, I was pretty bummed whenever I decided to hang it up. Like, yeah, it was my choice to decide that after that last shoulder surgery, it was probably time to hang him up. But at the same time, like, if I had been healthy, there's no way I would have stopped playing. And part of that decision was I felt like I needed to just kind of distance myself from the program a little bit. Football is always going to be a huge part of my life, but it took a mental toll just having to make that decision. And I didn't want to be too much around the program other than just kind of having fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What the shoulder injury was it one thing that led up to all the problems, or was it just something that was part of it?
So the first time I injured it was my junior year of high school, actually playing against Highland Park. Still hate those guys. And then senior year, I played through it, no surgery. My freshman year, it's coming out a few times a game.
Oh, you
had
getting
surgery
are you
at the
getting
end
shot
of
up
the season.
like? Are you getting shot up during games?
You just take like a ibuprofen basically is all you can do and hope for the adrenaline kind of takes care of the rest.
Ew.
And it usually does. But, I had my surgery and then go through rehab, go through the off season, and then literally the first day of full contact, I'm out there and it comes out again. So then I go through the whole ordeal my sophomore year, shoulders coming out. Against Alabama, it came out. First of all, we got beat 59-0. my shoulder comes out 5 times in the first half, and I'm having to just kind of crank it back in. And I think that was kind of when I was like, I don't know if this is going to be worth it long term. So then I had my neck surgery, my next shoulder surgery at the end of the season. It was a more invasive process. It wasn't just scoping it out. And then, I mean, at that point, it's just I probably wasn't going to be an NFL guy anyway. And they said that they were going to honor my scholarship. So at some point, I had to kind of think about the future. And I still, at that point, wanted to pursue an MMA career. And I figured maybe I can get healthy. And I'm still going to try to do that once at least.
Yeah, you are.
But I was just looking to the future, and I was like, there's really no point in this. I mean, and that was when a lot of the stuff about CTE was coming out as well.
Yeah. So
all of those factors just kind of weighed into that decision, and I decided it was probably for the best. And the staff agreed with me on that.
Man, that's got to be a nut. That's got to be a really a decision that's so nuts to make at that age, right? Because
I'm 20 years old.
Yeah.
Kind of looking at the future, and it's hard. I mean, football is a game that I love. I still love to this day. And hanging up the cleats was one of the toughest things I've ever done. But I don't have any regrets about it. I felt like it was the right decision at the time, and I still feel that way. So although I still like I was saying, man, you can't help but wonder.
I mean, is your shoulder right now? Like, does it still? Do you feel better?
It still gives me problems all the time, but I mean, that's just going to be part of it. They told me that whenever they did that last surgery, like, you're going to do the rehab. There's still going to be days where that shoulder's just. I mean, I can't really squat anymore. I have to do like front squats.
Goblet squats, you got to
or I have like
those are better for you.
Bar.
Yeah, those are better for you.
And it works on your core strength too.
Exactly.
You gotta get the abs back.
We gotta get Jay's 8-pack going. Okay, that's what this is about now.
Yeah.
So going through,
I gotta start looking like Myles Garrett.
Oh,
never gonna happen.
Did you meet him at all? Did you overlap?
His freshman year was my sophomore year.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and that dude.
Could you tell right away? You could tell right away.
We were doing like 7-on-7 drills, or like we did actually some full team drills on air where like the lines aren't like offensive line, defensive line aren't really doing anything. And I saw him take off on a dead sprint after like one of the skill position guys, and I was like, yeah, I'm probably not an NFL guy. It's like at that moment. I'm just glad I made it this far.
You could tell right away, man. He is such a nice guy. I met him his final year, and I still can't believe. Like if you just put a blindfold on and talk to him, met him, and all that, you go, "There's no way this is the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft."
Dude, he's legitimately one of the nicest people I've ever met, and like his locker was a couple lockers down from mine. He's always listening to soul music, like Dude's just a man. He's just a good dude. Really, really positive guy. I mean, he'll talk to anybody on the street. Anybody comes up to him, he's just like, "Hey, man, what's up?"
Did he always carry a book around? Oh
yeah,
always has a book.
He was doing poetry too. I mean, he's a different cat, but he's definitely a good dude.
Really cool dude. I'm so happy for him when he got drafted. And then this past year with everything that happened with Mason Rudolph, I was defending. I was like, I don't care. I'm defending my boy. Myles Garrett's my boy now. We're best friends for life now because of that one interaction.
I definitely defended Myles. Yeah. I mean, I got attacked on Twitter by Steelers fans. The Yinzers up there were not happy with me defending my boy, but
the dumbest thing. Everybody was like, what if he had connected? He could have killed him. Well, bitch, he didn't kill him. Okay,
yeah, he's fine.
He's fine.
He just gave him a little bonk on the head.
Dude. And Mason still fought back afterwards. By the way, it didn't even knock him out. Like Mason Rudolph probably took a harder hit just in the game than he did from that helmet. Like, just relax, everyone. You can't play the what if he had killed him.
Well, and then it pissed me off that like Mason Rudolph's up there calling him Bush League after the fact, too. Like, that was when I really got set off. It was like,
Mason, you're the one who started this whole thing. Okay, let's not get it twisted. Like, come on now. Do you have any good Johnny football stories? I know you probably hate that question, but somebody asked in the comments. I have to ask you.
I mean, it's just the bowl game at Atlanta. I mean, everybody's just we went to, I think it was called the Opera House at Atlanta, and I'm 18 at the time, so I probably shouldn't have even been in I think I had like an Illinois fake ID, and it actually had Evanston as the address. But I get in there, and I mean, we're all just kind of hanging out. So I think Denzel and Robert Kimdichie were in there too, because I think they're from around Atlanta. Like, I don't know how close Grayson is or wherever they're from, but they were up there with us too. And so we're all just like having a hell of a time. And, you know, everybody's partying. Everybody wants to go hang out with Johnny. It's obvious, like, even if he wasn't as successful as he still has that magnetic personality. Like, people just kind of want to be around him. And we're having a great time, dude. And he's like, at one point he stops drinking. He's like, they're going to make us run gassers tomorrow. And I'm thinking, like, all right. And he's like, hey, you want the rest of this drink? And I'm like, hell yeah, dude. Like, I'm 18. I'm in Atlanta. I'm in a city that I've never, partied in before. I'm going to have the hell of a time. Sure enough, we had to run gassers the next morning. And I'm throwing up on the field at the Superdome or the Georgia Dome and just having a great time.
Thanks, Johnny.
Man. I mean, he did say that we were probably going to have to run gas. So, I mean, I can't say that I wasn't warned.
You got to listen to the veterans, man. What are you doing? You got to listen to them.
Got to.
Everything that you've been through with the shoulder, with the hours that you put in, I think you have a perspective that many of us will never have in this discussion regarding paying athletes on the NCAA level with college football and then across all athletes. Where do you stand on that with paying college athletes?
I mean, I have always been for it. I think you put in that much time, that much effort. At the very least, they should be able to profit off name, image, likeness. And I try to be careful about how I kind of word it just because I don't want to come off as bitter, even though I probably am a little bit. Like, I wish – I was talking about this other day, like, with name, image, likeness stuff. I missed out on getting that sweet, brisket sponsorship. But I think it's just the guys put in so much time, and people want to say, well, if they want to make money, they should just get a real job. It's like, dude, you're putting in so much time. It is a job. Whether you want to admit it or not, they're providing a lot of value for the university. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, you get these stipends for cost of living. Some of these guys that I played with were sending those stipends home to their families. Because they're like, whenever they were at home in high school, they were working the whole time to help provide for their family. Now they're gone. Where's that money going to come from? So they're having to send some of that money home. Like, it's the only reason like some of the kids are able to eat is because they're able to go to the cafeteria is already provided. Mm-hmm. Like if they didn't have like weekends, you could see guys like taking box stuff home because they wouldn't have anything otherwise. Like, because you're not able to go up to the dining room on the weekends. So and I see guys that are working their ass off every day in the weight room, and yes, it's a great opportunity to get education, and I'm not trying to discount that, but you see how much effort they're putting in, and that's all they're getting out of it. Like, at some point, something has to change.
Yeah. Yeah, if it was so one-sided for the university, because one of the angles that everyone brings up is, well, hey, you guys got a scholarship, okay? And any student would have killed for that. And I'm like, first of all, my ass is not going to work for that scholarship, okay? Because it's impossible. What you guys do, it's impossible, right? Like, you got to be a special person to do it. And you got to have the physical traits, all that. But the scholarship argument gets lost. It's that it's so one-sided because if the university was losing money on this, those scholarships, they would have reworked this whole program. But instead, it's still there. The scholarship racket is still there. Like, look, the university at the end of the day is still going to make, 6 times that probably.
Well, and one of the arguments that people use is that football subsidizes some of the other sports. And again, at the bare minimum, name, image, and likeness could help. Look at a guy like, let's say he's a wrestler at Iowa. You're going to tell me that guy isn't going to get some kind of local sponsorship?
No, he's going to get it. He'll probably be more popular than a football player.
Exactly. Or at a baseball school, let's say a baseball player like Cal State Fullerton or one of those schools out there that's, maybe not a huge football place, but they got a pretty solid baseball team. They got a chance out there. I mean, there's been softball play. We had I'm trying to think what her name was. I mean, we had a literal Olympian swimmer at A&M. I think it was Bria Larson. Was a literal gold medalist, and you're telling me that she couldn't have made a ton of money just from name, image, and likeness at A&M? Like, it would have been awesome to see these people get the chance to, see some profit off of all their hard work, other than just, hey, you got a scholarship, good job. Now you get a chance to go try to get a job in the job market.
Yeah. And
think about like athletes graduating now with the pandemic going on. Nobody's hiring.
Mm-mm.
And so now you're telling them, well, you got a scholarship. You should be thankful for that. Buddy, that's not going to mean too much when nobody's hiring.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Instead, you could have made lifelong relationships, business relationships with a local sponsor. Maybe you're working with them. And look, and I get both sides of this where you probably should have been making those you should have been networking at alumni events and all that. And that doesn't mean that you guys aren't already doing that. I bet a ton of people were like, hey, you know what? I'm going to get cool with this big donor here.
Yeah.
And figure out like if I can work for this guy later on. But it's so frustrating because the university's making a ton of money. The NCAA, Big 12 office, SEC, everyone's making money, right? Because if they weren't, there'd be drastic changes in all of this. That's just the way business works.
Right.
And for a student not to be able to benefit on a local level, a national level, creating a YouTube channel, for you maybe writing for Good Bull while you were in school, doing a weekly show with them, whatever it is, it's just greed at that point.
Yeah. And like one of the guys I follow on Twitter, Jeremy Darlow, is working with West Virginia, I think now. Neil Brown brought him in. He's doing a lot of brand stuff and kind of helping athletes develop their brand. And I think that's something that's awesome, especially with the name, image, likeness stuff coming up. Athletes are getting a real chance now that past generations didn't have to really develop themselves as a brand. And even if it doesn't take off in a huge way, that still could catch somebody's eye. Any potential employer can see that personality and be like, I want this guy on my team.
Man, you bring him into a marketing office and you've already worked on building a brand. You know how that's life experience right there. And guess what? You weren't able to do an internship either, right? Because you would. Well, I think you would be able to, but it would be hard, right?
You would basically have to do it where either you work online or it's a local internship during the summer.
In the one week you have off, so it's impossible. It's impossible to do that, So during the season, if you're working on a brand, you're branding yourself, you're creating YouTube content or podcasts or whatever, that is making up for the lost time of not being able to intern. Because I've had interns who were student athletes when I was in radio, and it's like you get them once a week, if that. It's impossible because they've got meetings all day. They've got to do this. They've got to do that. They've got class. They don't have the free time like I did in college. It's like, and hell, you being on both sides, the free time, it's night and day.
That's why the part of the reason why I'm so thankful is just to be able to see both sides. And, just kind of seeing, going from part of that is why I took an extra semester as well, is just going from
too much free time,
from going from, being on a very strict schedule, everything's laid out, to having free time. And you know what? Maybe I am going to go out on T-shirt Tuesday, have a few drinks.
Yeah, you are, man. Yeah, you got to hit it up, man.
Absolutely.
Hey, we're running a little over here, but we have to talk a little MMA. So you are training now. You're back rolling. You've been training jiu-jitsu since you were in the 8th grade, which is rare. I mean, not a lot of kids get into it. Now they are. Now a lot of students are getting into that at an earlier age. I'm going to put my daughter into it for sure. But you got into the 8th grade and now you're back rolling finally.
Yeah. So the first fight I ever saw was the second scrap between Matt Hughes and George St. Pierre. And I think I was in 7th grade at the time, and I got hooked on the sport after that. And, I was lucky enough that one of my teachers actually in middle school got me set up to go try out a school in Mesquite, which was where I was living at the time. And shout out to Coach K, by the way, she was the best. So I go in there, and the first time I go in, I'm getting my ass kicked because they didn't really have any kids my age, so I'm just rolling with the adults. Like,
How big
whatever.
were you at the time too?
I was probably, I mean, I was still probably like 6 foot, but I was probably like 160, 170. Like I was pretty skinny. And I'm learning. It was in the middle of basketball season. I remember this. I was so sore after my first time going to practice that I go out we had a game, 8th grade basketball game. I go out there and I can't even like run up and down the court, and coach like, what the hell's wrong with you? He's like, you're not going to the classes no more. I was like, coach, I love it. I can't.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, whatever. But then I kept training all the way up through high school. And then, so I went to elementary, middle school. I went to Mesquite ISD schools. And then I moved out to Rockwall my freshman year of high school. And Rockwall Heath, where I went to high school, had a wrestling team. So I also picked up on wrestling in high school, and then kept up with the jiu-jitsu when my schedule allowed. And by the time I had graduated, I was a purple belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So then, obviously, going to A&M, football and surgery didn't really leave much time for training. And then, I did finally get into some jiu-jitsu at Brazos Valley MMA in College Station, which Bubba Bush is a great guy.
Bubba Bush is a monster.
Highly recommend any students up there that are thinking about getting into jiu-jitsu. Definitely go check out Brazos Valley MMA. Bubba's a great dude. He'll take care of you. But because I was having so much fun, I was never consistent about going in there. That's maybe the one regret I have, is that I didn't get consistent with it. And then, graduated, trained off and on, and just kind of was looking for a place that I fit in, because I was up in Dallas for a little bit when I first graduated, was job hunting. And then when I moved down here, I was just like trying to get settled. It's new city, wasn't really sure what's happening. And then I was, New Year's, I was planning on getting into a gym, and then the COVID happened, and it was a while before I was finally able to get back into it. But now I'm training at Paradigm. Head jiu-jitsu coach Marcus Bello has really been taking care of me so far, and it's been a lot of fun getting back into it.
Yeah, Paradigm Reed is good people. I trained there for a bit. Do you know Drake Zerline? Is he up there still?
I don't know.
He just does a lot of Muay Thai. He that's Lance's kid who works at ESPN.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's such a cool. You go to the one on 59 as well. The newer one. It's now 4 years old, I believe. About 4 or 3 years old. That's a cool facility, man. And they're really good people, good dudes down there. There's nothing like it, man. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I tell everybody, you got to try it for a month. Don't be afraid. Just go. Most schools, not most schools, all schools are really welcoming. And once you get into there, you'll see the community. It's so much fun to get to know people, and you're going to suck for a long time.
It is the most humbling thing you could do.
Yep. And when you think you're good, guess what happens? You're going to run into somebody that's better, and it's going to jack you up. You're going to be like, what the hell did I do wrong? And you get obsessed with it. It's so addicting, man, because you want to get better. That's it.
And it's like a chess match too. And in a lot of ways, I mean, I think one of the reasons I was so attracted to the jiu-jitsu aspect in particular is that the smallest guys out there can just whip your ass, and you can't do anything about it, because it's all about technique. And I don't know, it's so much fun. I'm so glad I'm getting back into it now, and I kind of realize how much I missed it.
You want to eventually fight, right? You got to take a smoker here pretty soon.
So the goal that I told myself is I want to compete in another jiu-jitsu tournament by the end of this year.
Okay. Hopefully we have one.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, people are already having them down here in Texas.
Oh, okay.
But probably not a great idea. But I want to compete in a jiu-jitsu tournament by the end of the year. And then before I turn 29, I want to have my first pro MMA fight. So I got roughly 4 years.
You can do that.
Yeah, and that's the goal. Now the striking is going to be fun to get into. I did like a charity boxing match in
Oh no.
college. Uh,
How drunk were you?
I mean, I wasn't drunk, but I got pretty drunk afterward. I was
Yeah.
pretty out of shape, though. I'll tell you that much. But I had a lot of fun with that. I haven't really done any striking though, so
Really?
I'm pretty excited to get into that.
So you must have been at like strict Brazilian jiu-jitsu schools.
Yeah, so I was pretty much doing straight jiu-jitsu, gi and no gi, and then
Mhm.
also wrestling in high
Okay.
school.
Yeah.
So getting both of those, I mean, gave me a pretty solid base as far as that goes.
Because when I got into it in 2009, 2010, I started with jiu-jitsu, and then I was like, okay, well, I'm here anyways. And the coach is like, why don't you just stay for Muay Thai? I'm like, all right, cool. Well, why don't you just stay for conditioning? And the next,
Yeah.
you're there for 3 hours, and then you plan your whole day around. Okay, I got Muay Thai at 9. I gotta get a snack in
Yeah.
between fitness, and then you got jiu-jitsu, and then you got rolling afterwards, and it just turns in. You just start practicing everything.
Well, and I think part of the reason that I didn't get more into a little bit of everything was just playing sports in high school. I mean, between football, wrestling, and then I played baseball and did track my first 2 years
Oh
high
boy.
school. And then that's another funny story, was playing baseball. But
What position did you play?
so I was pretty much a pitcher only. And my first varsity pitching appearance, the catcher walks out to the mound, hands me the ball, and goes, "Don't mess this up." He used a different word. And I proceeded to hit 3 batters. After that, I decided to focus on football and wrestling.
What the hell? Did you never throw a pitch before?
No, I was so juiced up. I was trying to just throw it as hard as I could.
Oh
Like
man.
I honestly, like, I had accuracy problems anyway. I was basically I didn't know where it was going, but it was getting there in a hurry.
Yeah. It's just power. You know what? You gotta dial in your mechanics. That's
Yeah,
it.
I mean,
What else can
people
you do?
didn't want to step in the box, so
No.
when I
I'm not getting hit by
would
you.
throw strikes, I mean,
Man, that's crazy, dude. Well, man, I had a blast talking to you, Jay. Don't be a stranger, man. Come back on the podcast. Where can people find all your work? And what else are you up to, man?
yeah. So I'm actually doing some little bit of stuff with good bull hunting. I'm trying to get more consistent about writing. I also have a little blog called The Hat. It's the Here and There Media with some of my friends. We just kind of shoot the shit on there. We're doing the Great American Blog Off right now, where we just pick a random topic and go with it. I think today's topic was the top 5 backyard games to
Ooh.
play during the summer. And then we also do a podcast with a bunch of the folks from Good Bull Hunting, myself, Cuppy Cup, Chuck, and then Alex McDaniel, formerly of SB Nation. It's called Call of Cthulhu is the game we play, and the podcast is called Ain't Slayed Nobody. And so it's basically like a Dungeons and Dragons type game. You can find it on anywhere you listen to podcasts, and it's a hell of a lot of fun. I do an Irish accent for it.
Wow.
So it's
Okay.
a
It's
great
like
time.
it's performance art. I like it.
Oh yeah, you got to get into full character.
Dude, I love that. And make sure you follow him on Twitter. He's a great follow. J Arnold TAMU85. Dude, you gotta get a better username.
See,
than that.
I tried to get Twitter to let me change it after I got the blue check, but I don't
Yeah.
want to lose the blue check. So
Oh, that's
obviously
right. Yeah, once you get it, you can't change it. That's
yeah,
right.
so I
Just
mean,
look up J.
obviously it's
Arnold.
terrible. It's
Yeah.
a terrible Twitter name.
You see, you could transfer your blue check mark now, but then you're gonna have to
They said it was fake.
Oh, was that fake?
Yeah.
Damn it! I was about to sell mine off.
So
man.
because I was trying to sell mine too. I'm like, shit.
I don't need this. I don't need.
Yeah.
You really can't say when you have a blue check mark. This is first world problems, okay? But when you have a blue check mark and you work in the media, man, I used to do some of the dumbest stuff on Twitter. Like that's what I use it for. Is just dumb stuff, and now
one
I
time-
can't do it. Yeah, and like I do stuff with ABC 13, so I can't even put out funny tweets anymore. I have to be so careful. Like I was riding my bike the other day, and a neighbor was throwing away some bricks. Okay, so I was gonna go take a picture and be like, "Oh my God, here they are! Somebody's staging these bricks for the protest." You're like obviously in a suburb, and then I have to put my filter on, and I can't do it.
Dude, well, I did use the blue check in an evil way one time.
Oh no!
So I changed my like not the actual @ name, but like the Twitter name to Conor McGregor, and I changed my profile picture to his picture. And somebody said, Connor, when are you going to fight Khabib? And I was like, I got to fight that old man from the pub first.
Oh.
And people were retweeting it. Like, I mean, I deleted it quick because I didn't want to get in too much trouble.
Dude.
But it was so much fun seeing people react and then like realizing.
Those Twitter accounts that troll people with the fake information, man, it sucks because everyone's going to fall for it, but it is so much fun to watch. It is so much fun to watch.
You got to look for the little L or versus an I.
Yeah.
Always got to keep a lookout.
I'm always like, I need 2 sources before I retweet on Twitter now. I don't care. You know what? I believe you, Schefter, but I got to see it from Jay Glazer as well. And then I'll retweet it.
Unless it's something funny, because then it's like, whatever. I don't care if it's fake. Like, I got a good laugh out of it.
Man, Jay, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Awesome time talking to you. Thanks for sharing your stories with us, and I hope you come back one day, man, with us and spend some more time. Hopefully, we'll do it in person. We gotta go to Aga's together and go get a meal over there.
Dude, I'm pumped. I looked at the menu about that. Oh, I'm gonna get some of the lamb chops. I'm pumped.
Got to get that paneer makhni. Ooh, boy, that's good. It's good. Jay, thank you so much, man. I'll talk to you next time, brother.
All right, appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
Jay Arnold. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at JArnoldTAMU85. Big thanks to AlamoRemedy.com. Their CBD products are only $17.99. Third-party tested, no THC, and you're going to save 10% off with promo code UNICORN. That's UNICORN. AlamoRemedy.com, or just check out the link in the description of this episode. 4 products, their lotion, their gummies, their capsules, and the tincture. You are going to love it. I love using the gummies. Try it out. They are great people. It is for Texans, by Texans. AlamoRemedy.com. All right, thank you everyone for listening. The next episode is going to be Brian Michael Cooper, the president of the Houston Roughnecks. Rest in peace, Roughnecks. And we will get that conversation up. Appreciate you guys listening to this longer episode.